wanted to say that our decision to draft Logan was a very offensive one to so many of our fans and so many people across communities, especially in the hockey community, but all communities. And on behalf of the Montreal Canadiens, I just wanted to apologize to all for that. In terms of a specific answer to your question, for Logan, obviously 9 months ago, he made a big mistake in his life, and needs to learn from that and become a better person from that. And so there are a series of things that we have in mind for him. There are a series of things that he's already started, and also we're in touch with his agency, who's also committed to helping him get through this and become a better person. And because they too gave him a second chance. So what I've done is put together a task force that is going to be focused on and ensure not only Logan, but ensure that the entire community benefits from this terrible incident that we're involved in.
Okay, my second question, Geoff, is have you been in touch with the victim and their family? Have you had an understanding of how this decision impacted them? Do you have any intention of getting in touch? And is Logan reconciled with the victim who told The Athletic that she feels that his apology to her was insincere?
Yeah, so out of respect for the victim and her family, we are not going to comment at all on that. We do have, obviously we have information of the various people that have contacted them, but out of respect for them and their request for privacy, we're not going to talk about any contact that we have with her or her family. The reflection that I've made and being consulted on by so many people across so many communities to get to this point has been really important because I want to get it right. I want to make sure that the community that we operate in understands the significance of this error that was committed. I want to be proactive. I want to take action so that we can make something out of a terrible situation. And like I said at the beginning, our decision to draft Logan was very offensive to so many people, and I feel terrible about that. I apologize, but I am completely committed to making it good. And I've had feedback from our partners. I've had feedback from sponsors, fans, professionals, people internally. And I really feel like the right direction to take right now is to turn the corner, have an action plan, and make this a positive for so many people who have suffered through this. The decision has been offensive to so many people. And if I've learned anything that I already knew, but I've really learned it in this process, is that the Montreal Canadiens are much more than a hockey team. And I've always known that. I've been at the head of it for 12 years, and I've always respected it. And I feel like I let down my guard on this one situation, and we're going to fix it. Up at the draft table, the impression that we had, in fact, the facts that we had were that he was going to be drafted and by somebody in the second round. And it was an error in judgment. And if I had known the repercussions to the greater community beyond just the Montreal Canadiens and our fans, I think I probably would have. I wasn't at the draft table, but I probably would have avoided that situation. But now I'm looking forward, and we have selected him, and we're going to do everything we can to use that situation, not only for him, not only to do whatever we can for the victim, but future potential victims and in the community to make sure that we do a good job and we make the best of a situation that we created that is disappointing. This is exactly where I take full responsibility for a lack of judgment on my part. The idea in my head was this is a 17-year-old kid who made one really bad mistake, even though he's a good kid. And if we give him a second chance, we may be able to turn him into a really good kid, someday. And shame on me for not taken into consideration the number of people that I impacted by not thinking beyond the fact that a second chance is a good thing, and which all teenagers deserve. And we're going to work hard with Logan, but shame on me for not taking into account the victim, and shame on me for not taking into account how many people we would impact with that decision. And that's why we want to turn this decision into a positive, and do as much as we can to help the community understand the impacts of some of these types of things.
Good afternoon, Geoff. You mentioned earlier that you've always known that the Canadiens are more than a hockey team, which I think everyone knows. I struggle to reconcile that notion with what you just said in terms of not understanding the kind of message this sends to all of your fans and everyone who loves, adores your franchise. How much damage has that done to that relationship in your mind, that so many fans who are devoted to your franchise are now extremely disappointed in you, and what can you do to repair that relationship?
Yeah, I have no doubt that we've disappointed a lot of our fans, but I also have no doubt that we've disappointed a lot of people who maybe aren't our fans, who have been impacted by this type of thing. And this is where the Montreal Canadiens should be better. And I take full responsibility for that. And we will be better. And so what can we do to make that? I think that for me, it's today's my first day stepping in and talking to our fans and the people who were impacted by this about how I feel about it. Today's the day that I apologize for it. And today's the day that I start the action plan to try and make good for it. And I think deep down in all of our hearts, we know that the Montreal Canadiens will accomplish that. But those are just words. And words don't answer any of those questions you just asked. For me, it's all about action. And I'm going to take them, and we're going to make good on this, and we're going to make our fans proud.
I guess one thing that I've had trouble reconciling is that even Logan mentioned how he hopes to use his story as a lesson for other young men and how to treat women. And you mentioned that in your statement as well. And you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. How can you do that when his story didn't have any repercussions on his ability to get drafted into the NHL? If you understand the inherent, I guess, conflict there, that on the one hand, you're saying that this was reprehensible behavior. On the other hand, it still got him what he ultimately wanted. Do you kind of see where I'm going? Like, how do you use his story as a way to deter people from doing what he did?
Oh, I think it's a number of things, and I think I understand your question. It's a good question, but he did make a mistake, and he is aware of his mistake. He's very remorseful, he's apologetic, and he wants to do better. And I think that if you have the humility to do that and to be committed to doing better, you will eventually do better. And we've done a few things with the player already to make sure that he does take his time to make sure that we get that right. But I don't see it as any other way than a lack of judgment on my part to not better understand the implications of making that decision, regardless of the player, regardless of where he ends up. It's on us because we made the mistake of not thinking about the broader perspective, and we're going to make good on that. What transpired leading up to the draft, and this is where I take responsibility for lack of judgment on the greater amount of people that were impacted by this. In my analysis of the situation, based on all the feedback that the scouting department was giving me, is that this kid made a really big mistake, and he also happens to be a really good kid who's really dedicated, remorseful, and regrets what he did, apologetic, and at that point, my thinking was, well, if he is a really good kid and he wants to do better, let's give him a second chance and help him be better. And we'll turn a terrible situation into something that's constructive for our communities. What I did not take into consideration is how many people would be impacted by that decision. And that's why I'm here talking about it today, and committed with my action plan to rectify it and turn the situation into a positive one. Logan does need time. He's only 18 years old. He needs to go away and learn and become a better person. And to have him show up in September at our training camp wouldn't make any sense at all. We also haven't signed the player at this point too, because we need to evaluate his progress. We need to evaluate how he performs as a young adult, and continue to assess and evaluate, because it is an important issue, and we're going to stay very close to it.